What's good, guys? We're back at it again with another video. As you can see from the title, today we got, a list of things that recruits do on the floor, any type of basketball players, a list of red flags that would signify to coaches like, okay, I need to stay away from this kid. I shouldn't offer this kid, this kid isn't right for my program. I made a video a while ago, things you shouldn't do and things that can lose you a scholarship, but this is going to be a specific list. I'm going to give you 10, maybe even 11 things that you guys need to be watching out for to be making sure you're not doing when you're out there on the court, because everything I'm about to talk about, coaches look at. I promise you, when you're in AAU, once a coach figures out that they actually like you, they want you on their team, or they think they want you on their team, instantly their focus is less on the court, but more of what you're doing off the court, what you're doing in timeouts. They're literally watching everything, trying to see, okay, is this really the high character player that I want to enter my program? Let's jump into it. This list is going to be in no particular order, but every single thing that I'm going to talk about is equally important. I'm telling you, make sure you're paying attention. First thing we're going to talk about is refs, right? And one thing that I had a coach tell me when I was younger, because I had a little bit of a problem, arguing with a ref and, oh yeah, what are you talking about? Especially when I'm blocking all these shots and they calling fouls on me. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, that's all ball. I had a coach tell me, I've never seen a ref overturn a call. And I have to say, ever since that day, which was when I was, I think, in middle school, since then, I've never seen a ref overturn a call. So guess what? There is no point to argue with a ref. Once a ref makes a call, go ahead and run down the court, go to the other end, next play mentality, because soaking on that or trying to argue with the ref, all it's going to do is get you a tech. Then all of a sudden that coach that's on the sideline is saying, okay, well, whenever things don't go his way, he's just going to throw a temper tantrum. He's not just going to, hunker down and get ready for the next play. No, he's going to get all emotional about it. Coaches really look at things like this. Like, you guys really need to be thinking about that. Do not argue with any ref. Just say, okay, maybe you have a conversation with him, pull him to the side when somebody's at the free throw line and say, hey, ref, I did this, and that. Just look out for it next time. Do not get in the ref's face and trying to argue things like that. Being able to remember plays is also extremely important, because as a coach, if you can't remember the couple of AAU plays, trust me, I played. If you can't remember the couple of AAU plays, how are you going to be able to remember the 20 plus plays that we have in college? Plus, the plays in college have different actions, depends on what defenders do. So let's just say we're running this certain play and the team decides to throw a different scheme at us. All of a sudden, there's a different play off of that play that you have to remember, that a coach expects you to remember. So if they're sitting on the sideline and if they see the coach call an out of bounds play, and you're the only player on the court that doesn't remember, again, how am I going to bring you into my program if you can't remember those couple sets? Because what I don't want to happen is I give you a scholarship, you come to my program down one in a late game situation, I draw something up on the whiteboard, and all of a sudden you don't remember the play and we lose the game. And in college, it's not like AAU, it's a business. Wins and losses can decide what happens to coaches, so of course they take that extremely seriously. One of the next things I want to talk about is walking on the court or soaking on the court. The first part, walking, right? You don't realize this until you get to college, and I think some high school programs need to do better at this. When you're in a college basketball practice, there is no walking. There is no anything lackadaisical, or I'm just going through the motions. I tell the story all the time. My freshman year, I go into a practice, we're in there for maybe 10 minutes, and some of us were like walking around, all joking around. Coach comes in the gym and says, oh, y'all don't want to practice, come back at 10 p.m. tonight. That's what you have to deal with in college. So when you're in these situations in AAU, there should be no point when you're walking on the court, especially if you say you want to play in college. Coaches are thinking about, okay, if I bring him into my program, is he going to be walking around my practices? Because they're not going for any of that. I'm telling you, try it if you want to. You will be on the line so fast. And that kind of goes hand in hand with soaking, right? So whenever you make a bad play, you see a lot of players sometimes, they put their head down and they act like, oh man, I made a mistake, it's the end of the world. Coaches do not want to see that. They want to see, it's called a short-term memory, right, on the court. Whether you make a shot, miss a shot, whether you get the ball taken from you, whether you get your shot blocked, they want to see a short-term memory. You want to focus on that next play, because guess what? You make a bad play or you make a mistake, right, and you're soaking, what's going to happen in the next play? More likely than not, you're going to make another mistake, which is going to make you even more sad, more emotional. Now, all of a sudden, you're completely taken out of the game, and coach got to sub you out. Now, we got to talk about grades too, right? So, for a lot of athletes, and this is a problem, your identity is, okay, I'm an athlete. Whether that's starting from middle school all the way up to high school, all you think about is, okay, I'm an athlete. And you kind of get this mindset in your head like, okay, all I want to do in my entire life is athletics. And my entire life is going to be built around athletics. you feel like you're going to be able to play sports forever, when that isn't the case at all. You have to have grades in order to even get to colleges, right? And I don't understand when it's like, okay, you want to be a college basketball player and you want to do this, this, and that, but you have to do what you have to do first. I don't care if you don't like school. If you really want to be a basketball player, grades are necessary. I think you have to have a minimum 2.3 GPA to be eligible in college. I think it's maybe 2.0 in high school, right? And this isn't a knock on anybody, but honestly, if you really cared about basketball that much, like we're seriously caring about it, getting a 2.0 in high school shouldn't be a problem. Because if that's your dream, okay, I want to play D1, I want to do this, this, and that, you would understand, okay, I got to take care of business. You wouldn't be beating around the bush. Oh, I don't want to do my grades. I just want to hoop. Life doesn't work like that. You are going to have to do some things you don't want to do if you want to get to that pinnacle, if you want to get to your goals. Here's the thing. How you do one thing is how you do everything. So if you don't take grades serious and, oh, it doesn't matter, like I'm going to the league, bro, I don't even need to worry about grades. Guess what? That same mindset at some point will start to creep into your game, will start to creep into what you call your passion that you're serious about. You might wake up one day, oh man, I worked out like 2 days before, I'm good, I'm chill, like I don't even need to do that, like I'm ready for this, like I'm going to the league. Not the case. Your grades are very important, and for a lot of players, you hear about it all the time, grades can be the reason you don't get a scholarship. Grades are the reason why you might have to go JUCO instead of going straight to college. If you would just take care of what you're supposed to early, I'm telling you guys, it will take care of a lot of hardships and some of the things you might have to go through on the back end. Just take care of your grades. Again, a minimum 2.0 is not hard to do. It's not. If you're serious about hooping, it's not hard to do. We talked about this before, but social media is one of the biggest pitfalls that a lot of youth athletes have, not just basketball, right? We talked about it before. You cannot have a Twitter page and be retweeting profanity, violence, nudity. Like I've seen it all, and for some reason it doesn't click with players. Like once you sign that NLI and you are a part of a program, you're a part of their brand. So you're a representative of that school, that institution. They do not want a random fan going to one of their players' pages on Twitter and they seeing a whole bunch of cuss words, a whole bunch of fights, this, and that. They don't want to see that because that makes their program look bad. Like, what type of kid are you letting into this school? Even your likes on Twitter, I've talked about this before. Kids don't realize it. Coaches check your likes too, because that's really going to tell you what type of player that is. Because you might think, oh yeah, my likes are secret, no one's checking it. No, coaches, of course, are going to check likes because, again, a scholarship is potentially, if you're there for 4 years, almost $100,000 that they're giving you. It's through education, but they're pretty much giving you $100,000. So guess what? They are going to vet you. They are going to go through all your social media and make sure that you're doing things the right way. Because I'll tell you this, I've heard a bunch of stories from my friends of, oh yeah, bro, I did this. And yeah, this coach was like, we're good. I've had coaches tell me like, yeah, this player liked this tweet. And instantly he was off my board. I remember when I was at Gulf Coast, right? I was actually in college. Our teammate got dunked on. And it was pretty bad. Like it was probably one of the worst, posters I've ever seen. It actually got posted on Sports Center, House of Highlights, everywhere on Instagram, right? And some of our teammates, I wasn't one of them, but some of our teammates end up liking that post, right? The next day, we had a whole team meeting. They pulled it up on the big screen and showed individually who liked these posts. And we all got in trouble for it because why? We're supposed to be a team. This social media stuff is serious. Coaches check it. Whether you're in high school or whether you're already in college, they're always checking it. Make sure you keep it completely clean. You don't want to do anything that could jeopardize your chances of getting that scholarship. Next, we'll talk about being a bad teammate while also arguing with your coach. All of it is being uncoachable, right? So pretty much one of the only reasons why you would ever be a bad teammate is if coach takes you out the game and you feel like you should be in the game, somebody makes a play and you just sitting there, right? You're not cheering on your teammates. You're not doing anything like that. Oh, coach, I should be in the game. I'm way better than him, this, and that. Or like I said, you arguing with coach. So when he does take you out, why are you taking me out? Why da-da-da-da? I'm doing this, this, and that. All of this is being uncoachable. And I'll tell you another story from college. We had a game. I wasn't playing at the time. We had a couple other freshmen that wasn't playing at the time. We come into film that day. And I'm thinking, yeah, we're going to be watching plays, this, and that. Our head coach literally pulled up the game film from the game, but only was focusing on the sideline. And he literally pinpointed every player on our team that was not standing up and clapping and celebrating. So guess what? Every single one of those players, when we got down to the practice court, had to run, had to do some type of conditioning. They watch everything. They literally watch everything. So when you're on the bench, when you get subbed out the game, you should always be clapping up your teammates. You should always be celebratory, because that shows what? Oh, I'm not selfish. I'm not just worried about me. I'm worried about my team. I'm worried about winning. Coaches want players that are worried about winning. They do not want players worried about individual stats. And then when you want to argue with the coach, it doesn't make any sense, because your coach holds the power. Your coach is the one that's going to decide if you get in the game or you're not going to be in the game. So when you're arguing with your coach, that's going to make the coach look at you like, okay, this is an extremely selfish player who doesn't care about the team at all. He just wants to get in and get his individual stats. Once you get to college, bro, there is no arguments. Like, the head coach is in charge. Like, there's no arguments at all. You know, you can try if you want to. I'm telling you, it's not going to end well. You're going to end up in the transfer portal. I've seen it happen. Now I want to talk about some of the reasons why a coach would pull you out of a game, right? And that's for taking bad shots and trying to play ISO ball the entire game. I've talked to I don't know how many coaches over the last year. One thing that they always say, and one thing that even I noticed when I went to UIBL, UAA, a couple tournaments that have been around here locally, every kid feels like they should be playing like Steph and shooting step backs and deep threes, or clearing out on ISOs or islands and putting together 10 dribble combos just to get to a contested step back shot. Coaches don't want to see any of that. If anything, the second you do something like that, now you're off the board completely, because that just shows you don't know how to play basketball. I've said this before. Bradley Beal said it before. How many players do you know in college that average 20 points a game? How many? How many? It isn't many. How many players are in the NBA that average 20? It isn't many. A majority of players in the league are role players. A majority of players in college are role players. So guess what? Granted, there are exceptions to the rule. There are exceptions, but for a majority of players, if you just want to get a scholarship, you have to find something you're good at and play your role and keep your game simple. Coaches do not want to see you take 20 dribble combos into step backs. They do not want to see you, spaz out on the court and take some contested crazy shot. No, they want to see you be able to move the ball and cut. They want to see you be able to be in the right spot on the court. They want to see you be able to make plays for your team, and again, not just be a selfish basketball player. One thing that even when I was at EYBL, again, we're going to make that video coming soon about notes that I took from going to all these sessions. Players that caught my eye the most were players that were playing the right way. Not the players that were, again, doing all this crazy stuff. The players that, like I said, were passing and cutting, were setting back screens and popping out. We're doing all different things on the court, keeping their game extremely simple, taking 2 dribbles to get to a spot, maybe pulling up, taking 2 or 3 dribbles to get by the defender to get to the rim. They're not taking 100 dribble combos. No, every move is getting to a spot on the court. Do not waste dribbles when you're out there. Make sure you're playing basketball the right way, because ISO ball, the only place ISO ball really works and is really prevalent for real is in the league. And even there are only a small percentage of players in the league, Kyrie Harden, putting together combos like that, and coaches are letting them do it. But I'll tell you this as well, that style of play, as we can see, a lot of times it doesn't lead to actual championships. So again, playing the right way will not only get you scholarships, but it will get you a lot of wins in the long run. Also wanted to talk about defense a little bit. Now, not playing defense is one of the biggest red flags that a coach could ever see, because you cannot play if you cannot guard your position. I don't care if you average 20 a game. If you give up 25 on the other end, guess what? That's a 5-point negative when you're on the court. You cannot play. I'll tell you guys this secret, and I've said it in I don't know how many videos. If you can guard, you're going to play everywhere. I'm telling you, I don't care what program you're in. If you can guard your position and not let that other player score, your coach has to play you. On the other side of that, like I said, if you are a player who plays no defense in college, in college, especially at the guard spot in college, if you cannot guard, you're on the bench early. And that's the problem with a lot of freshmen. When you come in, you can't guard anybody. Or when you are on defense, you standing up, you're not in the stance, so you're not in the gap, jumping the gaps, you being lazy. One of the biggest things that guards struggle with when they get to college is getting through screens. In high school, you're not used to running into screens by dudes 6'9", 6'10". But that's what you're going to see when you're in college. So you got a lot of guards that get to college and they get hit by a screen and they just getting thrown back, or they just laying on the screen. The coach will literally stop practice and say, the only reason you get screened is because you want to get screened. The only reason you get screened is when you want to get screened. So if you want to get ready for college early, if you want to give yourself a better chance of getting a collegiate scholarship, whether that's D1, D2, NAIA. Playing defense, you don't even have to be a prolific scorer, but if you just focus on your defense to the point where the person you're guarding cannot score at all, you will get an opportunity to play somewhere. Again, I know all the hype, I hear all of it. Oh yeah, you need to be scoring, you need to do this, this, and that, but I'm a living testament to this. If you can guard, you can play anywhere. But if you don't guard, again, that's one of the biggest red flags that check you off the list. Last red flags that I want to talk about are attire and then extras, right? Attire, what I mean by attire is, and I understand this is a new generation, you know, you do what you want, like to be creative out there, but showing up to gyms in the pajama pants and you got neck pillows and you got all this, this, and that. I'm not going to be the person to tell you you cannot do it, but all I will say is, and I say it all the time, if you're doing stuff off the court that draws attention to you, I've said it before, when you step on that court, you better be ready to prove, you know, that you can go, like that you can hoop. Because if you walk in the gym and you looking all, like I said, pajamas, neck pillow, shades, because I've seen all that. I've seen all that. When you step on that court, bro, you better be ready to go. Because every coach in the gym is already looking at you like, okay, who is this kid? Why does he feel like he can walk in here like this? One of the things I just want to say is for all the kids, you want to be a pro, right? You have to be a pro early. You never see pros walk in here wearing pajamas, things like that. You do see players like Kuzma wearing crazy things, but for the most part, they're professionals. If you want to be a professional, you have to act the part before you can be the part. And even with the extras, right? Let's say you score on somebody and the big thing right now is doing this, or you dunk on somebody, you tapping heads, doing this. I'm not saying that it's wrong or that it's bad, but understand that sometimes it can take away from the game. There shouldn't be a point where every single time you score on somebody, you saying they small or you know, doing the rock. At a certain point, you got to let your game speak for itself. Again, like I said, doing these things, it isn't the worst thing ever, but it can affect your ability to get a scholarship. And for this whole video, that's the biggest thing I want to get across. All of these things can affect your ability to get that actual scholarship. Like, share, subscribe, turn on post notifications. I appreciate you guys watching. Remember, if you want the one-on-one evaluations or a breakdown that goes on the channel, hit my website in the description. Also, if you need any advice from me, have any questions, hit my link for Noodle in the description. I appreciate you guys watching. Remember, follow me on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. I'm going to see you guys next time with the next video.